Hello, my friends, and welcome to another segment in the series, Let's Talk Herbs. Today, the segment is about lifestyle and prevention. Um, I'm an herbalist with a deep appreciation for the plants that can assist us in staying well. This is a webcast about using herbs to assist us during the novel coronavirus pandemic and the disease called COVID-19. Please keep in mind that I'm not a doctor and this talk does not constitute medical advice. What I want to share with you today are herbs that can help you manage your well-being during this challenging time, but more broadly, how to maintain wellness with herbs as one of the strategies for this effort. In every segment, we have reviewed the stages of disease from prevention through to recovery and health. Using herbs to support health works in combination with allopathic or Western medicine and pharmacology. My hope is that through supporting our health, we will be able to head off disease before it begins. This is the same way in which organic gardeners work with the microbes in the soil, by adding nutrients to it that supports the health of the plants and not killing anything through herbicides, which kill plant matter, herbicides, and insecticides, which kill insects, beneficial insects as well as harmful insects. We have so little knowledge yet of the complexity of the symbiotic relationship between plants and microbes. But we do know that nurturing the soil produces better plant health, and that means that the plants are better able to fend off attack. These healthy plants then can do more to protect our own health when we use them in our efforts to be well, by using them in cooking and by preparing them in ways such as the tinctures that you can see behind me, and using things like aloe vera gel for salves and so on. Let's see if I can show you any. Yeah, not there so much, but I do make a lip balm, and I have made soft skin preparations. Here's the lip balm that you can add a color to. I didn't add a tint to this one, but that can be done, and I have done that in the past. Yeah, there are many ways to use herbs, internally, externally. I have used an herb specifically to reduce inflammation through swelling and pain. That also begins healing. I had a friend who had some teeth extracted, at least 4 of them at one time. I think it was 6 total. Her 4 wisdom teeth, of which 2 were impacted, and others all at the same time. And when she contacted me a couple of days after that surgery, her cheeks were very swollen and her eyes were sort of black and blue, and she was having a lot of pain. So I recommended an herb to her and told her how to use it as a pack, using the wet herb, wrapping it in a cloth, and then either heating it or chilling it, whichever was most comfortable, and then applying externally to her face. It was the left side of her face. The next day, she sent me pictures of the effect that it had on her. I would not have believed it unless I'd seen it myself, how totally effective this treatment was. The herb name is comfrey, Comfrey. Now, in previous segments, I've told you how to take the dried herb to prepare an infusion that can be drunk during the day, a whole quart of it, and the comfrey is done the same way, which is 1 ounce weighed into a quart ball jar, and then boiling water poured over to the very top, stirred in to make sure that it's all saturated with the water, topped off with the boiling water, cap put on, and then set out on the counter overnight, or 8 hours. Then the herb drained out. Well, instead of draining the herb off and then disposing of it, or putting it out in the garden where the other plants love this, you can save that wet herb and use it as a compress, which is what I was telling you about. This compress then can be used over and over again if you keep it in the freezer and then use it once again. It's helpful for sore knees, for example, or if you injure your ankle, things like that. So that is an herb to use when you're well, usually, and not necessarily during COVID. So we are continuing to learn more about the ways in which our bodies make use of the microbiome that enables our gut health through the digestive process. Microbiome just means the small environment that contains the live fungi and bacteria and viruses that always inhabit our systems, externally on the skin, internally, everywhere. But it is the gut biome that we're most concerned about today. Medical researchers are discovering that the gut informs the brain. And so keeping our digestive system is really, keeping it healthy is really important so that we can absorb the nutrients that are necessary. The microbes that are in the gut are the ones that process the food we eat. If we don't have the right microbe balance in the gut, then we can't adequately absorb nutrition from the food and the herbs that we use. Today we'll be discussing some of the ways to implement healthy processes for the gut. These are what would be called lifestyle changes and strategies, of which using herbs for health is a part. So first, we have to talk about stress. During this time of the pandemic, we're all stressed. As you very well know, the many ways that we're stressed. I won't belabor that point again, but just recognizing that means that we have to take definite action to counter the stress by using meditation, for example. Very important and very helpful for me to sort of reset the stress barometer for myself. And it can do that for everyone. There are many meditation apps or places you can go. I won't name anyone specifically. If you were to contact me, I could do that. Really, really helpful just to disengage for a brief time, 1 minute, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you can do, to get in touch with your inner self. And it can help you manage the stress and get a new outlook on things, which I found very, very helpful, a new perspective. Exercise, very important. Walking is wonderful. During this time, when I've gone out walking, I've seen many more people out there taking advantage of the better weather and spring as we are now. And that does so much to enable our health. Specifically, neurologically, what is called oppositional movement, which is when you walk, you use one foot and then the other, and you counter that with the movement of the arms. And this movement actually activates brain pathways that help to clear out stresses from the mind. Very helpful right now. Other oppositional activities such as swimming or cross-country skiing, or if you have a cross-country ski machine as I do, that oppositional movement is what I'm talking about. I can't overstress how needful it is to work on sleep. Stress often gets in the way of sleep. There are many ways to manage sleep. I'm sure you've heard of many of them. Meditation is one thing that helps me a great deal. Winding down before going to sleep at night, taking a warm bath. Specifically, I want to mention, if you decide to take a bath, if you have Epsom salt, add 3 handsful of that to the warm water and mix it in, and then also add 1 handful of baking soda. That chemical action imparts magnesium into the body through the skin, for example, and it helps to relax the muscles and your mind. Very helpful. Now I want to mention diet. The standard American diet really does not help with stress. Using sugar and fat and salt and flour really makes the body not be able to absorb other nutrients as well. It acidifies the digestive tract. It encourages the growth of harmful bacteria and viruses. That's not something we want to do. So if the best thing to do is to begin by limiting one's intake of junk foods, highly processed foods. Study after study after study has found that using whole foods, that is non-processed foods, in as natural a state as possible, really is the best for our health. 100 years ago, we didn't call it health food. We just called it food. And we went out into the garden and we took from the garden and then we prepared it to eat. That, we find, is the healthiest way to support the gut biome and our overall health, and maximizes the nutrient intake for ourselves. There is a description of this called whole food plant-based, WFPB, if you wanted to look that up. I won't belabor the point. That is what I've been doing for the past year now, and it has improved my overall health and sense of well-being so much. I really recommend that to you. Or at the very least, limit as much as possible the junk foods and I won't mention specific things, but you know what I have in mind. And finally, I want to mention that for some of us, being home and isolated is difficult for many of us. I mean, if you're a parent with small children at home and you have to maintain your work life and your relationship with your partner, and then also homeschool your children and make meals, it's very stressful. If our children are grown and we have a partner at home, we may not be used to spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with that person. And it can introduce stresses beyond what is already so evident when you turn on the news. For those of us who live by ourselves, that loneliness can really get in the way. And study after study has shown the impact of that on our health and well-being. It reduces our immunity and makes us more susceptible to becoming ill. So it becomes necessary to actively engage with other people, to be connected with other people by telephone or the internet links, such as the one that you're using now. Our community on Facebook, or helpful areas on YouTube, or some people have used the Zoom app to actually just sit and have a meal with someone that they care about and just leave it on and just eat together and chat while still being safely in your own home. I do a number of things like that during the week. I really recommend that to you, because countering the feeling of being isolated is really important at any time, and especially now during the stresses of our daily lives. And so I haven't mentioned any specific herbs today. I've mentioned many herbs over the time. I've mentioned many resources, and I'm working on putting together a document that summarizes the things that we've said over the last 8 sessions. and on a way to make that available to you so that you can have an easy reference for some of these things. I think that's it for now. I may continue with other herb topics in the future. Stay tuned while we work that out. In the meantime, my friends, be well, stay well, and eat healthy.